The rain was falling softly on the bus stop when Lina Brooks stood there holding her worn-out backpack. People passed by without noticing her. To them, she was just another ordinary girl with tired eyes and cheap shoes. But inside Lina's chest, a storm was building. Lina was 23 years old, born in a small town near Dayton, Ohio. Her mother worked double shifts at a hospital. Her father left when she was 8. Life had never been kind to her, but she never complained. She studied hard, worked part-time jobs, and dreamed of building a better future. Yet, no matter how hard she tried, people rarely believed in her. When Lina graduated from college and applied for jobs in the city, rejection emails filled her inbox. Some companies didn't even reply. Others said she lacked experience or confidence. One interviewer smiled politely and told her, "You're too quiet for leadership roles." Those words followed her like shadows. Eventually, Lina got a junior position at a marketing firm in downtown Chicago. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a start. On her first day, she wore her best blazer and arrived early, heart pounding with nervous excitement. Her manager, Thomas Reed, glanced at her resume and nodded without interest. "Sit there," he said, pointing to a desk in the corner. From that moment, Lina felt invisible. Meetings happened without her opinions being asked. Her ideas were ignored. When she spoke, people talked over her. When mistakes happened, her name was the first to be mentioned. One afternoon, Lina stayed late to fix a campaign error that wasn't even hers. As she worked, she overheard coworkers laughing in the break room. "Why is she even here?" one voice said. "She doesn't have the personality for this industry," another replied. Lina's hands trembled over the keyboard. She wanted to scream. She wanted to cry. But instead, she swallowed her pain and kept working. The breaking point came during a presentation meeting. Lina had prepared a detailed market analysis that could help secure a major client. When she tried to explain her strategy, Thomas interrupted her. "Let someone experienced handle this," he said coldly. The room went silent. Lina felt her cheeks burn. She sat down slowly, staring at the table, wishing she could disappear. That night, she walked home alone through the city streets, replaying the moment again and again in her head. For the first time, doubt started whispering in her mind. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not good enough. But something else spoke louder. Anger. Not the loud, violent kind, the quiet, dangerous kind that pushes people to change their destiny. When Lina reached her small apartment, she didn't turn on the lights. She sat on her bed and stared at the wall, remembering all the times people had doubted her. Teachers who underestimated her, relatives who said she wouldn't succeed, managers who ignored her. She stood up slowly and whispered to herself, "They don't believe in me. Fine. I will believe in myself enough for all of them." That night, Lina opened her laptop and started searching for advanced digital marketing certifications, leadership programs, and freelance opportunities. She wrote goals on a piece of paper and taped it to her wall. "I will become so strong that nobody can touch me again." She didn't know how long it would take. She didn't know how hard it would be. But she knew one thing for sure. The girl nobody believed in was about to begin her transformation. Lina's days at the office became a carefully executed routine. On the surface, she appeared quiet, obedient, and unassuming, just as everyone expected. But behind closed doors, she was building something far greater than anyone could imagine. Every night after work, she opened her laptop and studied relentlessly. She completed certifications in digital marketing analytics, project management, and leadership strategy. While her coworkers went to bars or scrolled endlessly on social media, Lina was learning, networking, and building her skill set. She also began taking small freelance projects under a professional alias, LB Consulting, which allowed her to work with real clients without attracting attention. Each completed project brought her not only experience, but also a growing reputation outside her company. Lina observed her coworkers carefully during office hours. She noted who made mistakes, who ignored details, and who overestimated their own abilities. Thomas, her manager, was arrogant and impulsive, often dismissing smaller details that would later cause problems. And then she discovered an opportunity. Northward Tech, one of their biggest clients, planned to launch a nationwide campaign in a matter of months. A critical project needed someone meticulous, strategic, and reliable. Lina volunteered quietly, not asking for recognition, not boasting, simply submitting her plan to Thomas under the radar. When the errors in the current strategy came to light, Lina corrected them flawlessly. She documented every process, every solution, and every improvement. By the time the leadership team reviewed her work, the project was nearly perfect. But here's the key. She didn't reveal it publicly. She allowed Thomas to take partial credit in the meetings, knowing that his overconfidence and arrogance would eventually lead to bigger mistakes she could exploit later. Meanwhile, Lina's freelance work continued. She built relationships with investors, mentors, and professionals who respected her intelligence and foresight. Each connection became a tool, a stepping stone toward independence and influence. Months passed. Lina's skills, network, and financial resources grew quietly. While her coworkers continued to underestimate her, she gained more control over her professional future than anyone in that office. The turning point came when Thomas announced he would handle a major corporate pitch alone, dismissing Lina's advice. He didn't realize that Lina had prepared a backup plan, a plan she could implement without anyone noticing. The presentation went wrong. Clients raised objections, Thomas faltered under pressure. Lina stepped in, seamlessly guiding the discussion back on track, providing detailed analytics and strategic recommendations. The clients were impressed. Thomas looked flustered, and Lina smiled quietly to herself. Her time to step out of the shadows was approaching. She had built the knowledge, the credibility, and the influence. She had observed every weakness in her coworkers and management. She had secured connections that would support her when the time came. And soon, the girl nobody believed in would be untouchable. The day Lina had been preparing for finally arrived. She walked into the conference room at Northward Tech, her posture calm but commanding. Her hair was neatly tied back, her suit perfectly fitted, and her eyes held a confidence that made colleagues glance up in surprise. The same people who had ignored her, laughed at her ideas, and doubted her abilities sat before her, unknowing of the storm that was about to unfold. Thomas, her manager, was presenting the quarterly strategy to the board when Lina quietly approached the table. She didn't announce herself. She didn't demand attention. She simply handed the board her prepared packet, titled Optimized National Campaign, Strategic Leadership by Lina Brooks. The room went silent. One of the board members flipped through the pages. Charts, analytics, projections, risk assessments, everything was flawless. Then Lina spoke, her voice calm but firm. Based on the data and my analysis, I recommend restructuring this campaign strategy. It addresses every current weakness while maximizing client retention and revenue growth. Thomas froze. Sweat formed on his forehead. The board members exchanged impressed glances. "Lina, this is excellent work," one of them said. She nodded, almost imperceptibly, and continued. "The success of this campaign depends on strong leadership oversight. I've coordinated with all stakeholders and secured independent partnerships to ensure execution is seamless. This plan is ready to implement immediately." By the end of the meeting, the board decided to give Lina full authority over the project. Her colleagues, who once dismissed her quietly, now had to report to her, follow her instructions, and acknowledge her expertise. The transformation was complete. In the weeks that followed, Lina's leadership brought the campaign unprecedented success. Investors praised her work, clients requested her involvement personally, and her team, the same people who had ridiculed her, were astonished by her skill, organization, and unwavering confidence. Thomas, who once laughed at her, now waited for her approval on every decision. Colleagues who had mocked her ideas were now executing her directives. Every laugh, every dismissive comment, every moment they doubted her, it had come back in the form of respect, authority, and undeniable success. One evening, Lina stood alone in the high-rise office, looking out at the city lights. She thought back to the girl who had waited at a bus stop in the rain, ignored and dismissed, with no one believing in her. She smiled faintly. That girl had become a woman nobody could touch. The people who doubted her had learned a hard lesson. Underestimating someone quietly building their power can be the biggest mistake of their life, and Lina, once invisible, had become untouchable. "Nobody believed in me," she whispered softly. "Now, nobody can touch me." Her journey from overlooked underdog to unstoppable force was complete. She had not only claimed her place in the professional world, but she had also reclaimed her dignity, her confidence, and her power. The girl everyone doubted had become the woman everyone respected and feared.